All right, everybody, back from break. Let's go. This is part 3. We're going to talk about adding some buttons that will control our timeline. So if you've watched part 1 and part 2, we got our super cool wiggly buttons. But now I want to be able to navigate through this timeline. I want to play it, pause it, and rewind it. So I cheated a little bit during the break and added some code, which I'll show you. But let's just go to this nav layer here. I'm going to go into my library, and I have some buttons built. They have some instance names in there. I'm just going to take this symbol, and I'm going to name it navmc. Okay. And in my actions, I just added some stuff to my init function that was originally calling that for loop that created a zillion bubbles. And here I have some code that I cheated with, where I'm telling the play, pause, and reverse buttons to add their respective event listeners. Up here, I have some dummy functions in here. I have the play TL for play timeline, pause TL, and reverse TL. So let's start this out. Just make sure we're not getting any errors, and you'll see that we have these bubbles, and they're all looking really nice. Well, I don't want the bubbles to start until I hit the play button. Now, every TimelineMax is set by default to automatically run as soon as it's being created, and even as it's being created. So I'm going to pass some information in here, the what's referred to as the vars object, and I'm going to set the paused property to be true. So that means that my bubbles do not play instantly. They're going to wait for me to initiate it somehow. So on the play button, I'm just going to say, you'll never believe it, but we're going to just use the instance name of my master timeline, and I'm going to say play. What a nice little method that is. So we'll test this out, and now I will click the button, and my timeline begins. It's just like playing a movie clip timeline on the stage. It's exactly the same. Now, if I want to pause my timeline, I have no idea what this method's going to be called. Oh, maybe pause. Let's see how that works. All right, so I can play, sweet, and pause. Stop. Hammer time. I had to do that. And then we have play again, pause, play, pause. For reverse, guys, you're going to really have to stretch your minds here. How am I going to reverse this timeline? Maybe I'll do tl.reverse. So let's take it for a spin. I'm going to play. I'm going to pause. Pause. That click didn't work. Let's do a reverse. Pause. Play. And we'll just wait for some more bubbles to come up. Pause. Let's do a reverse. Pause. Play. Reverse. Pause. Wait, it didn't pause. Play. Play forward. What you're going to notice here is that sometimes I'm clicking on buttons and I'm not getting the right actions happening. And this screwed me up at first. Well, what's happening is, if you look where I'm paused here, you'll see this balloon is literally on top. Let me see if I can zoom in here really quick. Come on. No, you can't. All right, so that bubble, not balloon, is on top of the button. And let me play or continue reversing. And let me play again and try to hit pause. I couldn't really. Let's reverse, pause. So I hit pause when that balloon bubble was between my mouse and that button. Since we're dynamically adding these elements to the stage, these bubbles, they're going to be on top of items that are on the stage in my timeline. And so the bubbles are literally going to get in the way of me clicking these buttons. The way we're going to get rid of that is, once this loop has run in my init function that creates all the bubbles, and we're going to also tell the main timeline to add child navmc. And what that means is that we're going to, once all those bubbles are created, we're just going to put the navmc as the topmost thing in the display list. Okay, so now I can pause, reverse, play. And it doesn't matter if there's a balloon behind my button. It's not going to make a difference. But here you will see that the balloon is behind the nav. It's not on top of it. Okay, it's very subtle, but it could really screw things up. All right, cool. Now, let's just throw some junk on the stage. I want to have this little intro clip here, so I'm going to put in the same layer as the nav. Okay, just going to put it right here, and it says let's make some bubbles. It looks really cute. I'm going to call it intro MC. And whenever I click the play button to start my timeline, I want this movie clip here to fade out. So what I'm going to do is something a little bit weird. You would think that maybe before I create my bubbles and put them in the timeline, I would just insert a tween that says, hey, fade out that intro. But what happens is, due to my little method here, some of the bubbles that we create have a negative start time. All right. So it's kind of funky. And what I'm going to do is just wait for all the bubbles to be created, and then I'm going to tell my main timeline to prepend, which means put in front of everything else that you have a tween max 2, and we're going to tell intro MC to take 0.5 seconds, and we're just going to set your alpha to 0. Okay? So now, when we hit play, check it out. It fades away, the bubbles come in. And then when I reverse, the bubbles go away, and the intro comes back. Isn't that amazing? It's awesome. Goes away. Oh, let's go back. Ah, it's refreshing. I just wanted to show you that. All right, now let's play all the way through. Okay, and if I pause and then hit play, notice that the timeline goes in the same direction, everything going forward, going up. If I hit pause and then reverse, it goes back down, and if I pause and hit play, play always means, hey, go forward. Well, the thing is that eventually we're going to run out of bubbles, and we're going to be at the end of our timeline. So how do I know I'm at the end of the timeline? I don't. So what I'm going to do is put a little animation at the end of the timeline that brings that intro MC back in. And to get to the end of the timeline, we're going to use append. I'm going to say timeline append, a nice lovely tween max dot 2, and I'm going to tell that same intro MC to take 0.5 seconds, and we're going to jam your alpha, jam it up to 1. Okay, so here we're going to hit play, the intro goes away, my bunch of bubbles goes up. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. I'm at the end. Ah, let's make some bubbles. And then if I go to play again, goes back to the beginning, that's going to fade out, and everything is awesome. No, it's not. Aha, I fooled not only you, but me. So once I get to the end, play, remember it means go forward. And unlike a movie clip on the timeline, it's not automatically going to go back to the first frame. So my play button is going to do two things. It's either going to play from where we currently are all the time, or if we're at the end of the timeline, we're going to want to restart the timeline, which means go back to the beginning and play. So my play button is going to have a little logic built in. I'm going to basically ask the question and say, hey, if the current progress of the timeline is somewhere between 0 and 1, then you're just going to play and keep going. But if we're at the end, if it equals 1, then we're going to restart. So we can word this two ways. I'm just going to say if TL.currentProgress equals 1. That means it's at the end. The timeline is completely done. Well then, I'm going to tell the timeline to restart. Okay? If it's not equal to 1, meaning it's 0.2, 0.56, or some other number in between, I'm going to say, or else, let's do a play. Okay? So, we have a multi-purpose button here because play only means move forward from where you currently are. Restart means go back to the beginning and play. I could also, never mind. Let's test this out. We're going to hit play. We'll watch that thing go away. My bubbles are going to bubble up. Oh, this is so much fun. And then when we get to the end, let's make some bubbles. So that tells me that, hey, you know what? I'm at the end. Well, now I'm going to play, go back to the beginning, and restart, which means that that intro is going to fade out and all the bubbles are going to come back. If I reverse, we go backwards, and there it is. So guys, that's it. I'm going to post this file as is. Maybe I won't. Free File Friday, I gave it away for free, and it's still there. I'll put it on this thread post as well. If you're watching on YouTube, shimmy on over to snorkel.tv where you can see all 3 parts. So let's close this out. I just want to show you that once you have the basics of this in place, which is really just putting a nested timeline with 3 different animations into a bigger timeline and repeating that process over and over again, we get these neat little particle systems. And I have open here twinkles.fla, which is using the exact same setup. And just to show you, if I hit play here, we get some twinkles. Some of these are starting big and getting small. Some of them are starting small and getting big. Use the same sort of logic that I used when I figured out if some bubbles are going to go to the left or some will go to the right. So I can play the twinkles, I can pause them, I can reverse them, I can play them, I can pause them, I can reverse them. You can get so ultra creative with this. All right, I started with these bubbles because I just knew it was a cool thing to do. And again, hit play. You know, there are other particle systems out there, but unless you're using TimelineMax, I don't know how you would pause them or reverse them and play them. The performance is amazing, and it's just utterly smooth. So really, I urge you guys, download this file, monkey around with it. Hey, maybe you want to draw a better bubble than I can draw. I'll accept that. All right, guys, keep watching, and I'll catch you soon.